The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. From the heart of Broadway and historic downtown Cape Girardeau, this is Pro Wrestling Unscripted.
Wednesdays are for pro wrestling, and that of course means that right here on Podzilla 1985, it is Pro Wrestling Unscripted. If you're in the live chat, you just saw me just stumble away. So, you know, if you're listening to this as a podcast, I want you to know we appreciate you, but you can always head over to facebook.com/Podzilla1985 every Wednesday night, roughly around 7 p.m. Central Time, and you can actually watch us record this live. And when you do, you're in for a little treat, because I am not smooth.
Oh, no, yeah.
I've been hosting for a while now, and I'm still bad at it. But I will be your host, unfortunately, for the evening. I am the 5-star man, Asa Gray. And joining me, as always, is the Big D, Dalton Anthony.
Yo.
It's you. And we are back at it again. This past Sunday was the Royal Rumble. Thank you to anybody who stopped by and said hi with us over at twitch.tv/the5starman, because I did the little watch along thing that I did there. Shout out to Noah, who popped up and said that he was picking Edge to win it, who actually did, spoiler alert. But I do say I want partial credit, because he asked me who I thought number 30 would be, and I said Strowman, and I got that right. So I missed part of it, but I got part of it too. So I'm really, I am a glory hog, and I want people to think I'm awesome. So I'm just going to force feed that down everyone's throats. Dalton lost the prediction game, but again, we'll get to that later. We'll get to all that later. For right now, I already lost my notes. There we go.
That's what you get.
But we're going to do that later, because that more than likely is going to be the bulk of the show, because it wasn't a particularly, like, there's a handful of stories, but I feel like there's not a ton for us to really sink our teeth into. So we'll start things off with probably the most surprising, least surprising story, and that is Lars Sullivan has been released from the WWE. However, it wasn't announced this week. It just kind of came out, and it actually happened a month ago. So it seems like it was a very, very quiet thing, and there is if you go to Fightful Select, which I think is the premium version, they have a exclusive interview with him. It was actually PW Insider and Mike Johnson that broke the news, but Sean Ross Sapp reached out for comment and actually spoke with Lars Sullivan talking about it, and he seemed to have been very, very positive with WWE. He seemed very grateful for the time that he spent there, and the opportunities that were provided to him. That was a word that I couldn't get to go from my brain to my mouth. And it also does sound like he is done with wrestling. So he, don't be looking for him to pop up on Impact or New Japan or AEW or independent shows, what have you. But the story of Lars Sullivan's WWE run is a wild one. And Dalton, I know you're a fan of his. Did you watch the Brian Zane Wrestling with Regret NXT 6 video he did a while back?
Yes, I did. I remember. Yeah, I watched that one. I had to think about it.
Because it was right after EC3 got released.
Yeah.
That he posted it, and it was mostly about the people in that ladder match. And Lars Sullivan, just what a time he had between the instances of, like, the terrible things that he said online before he was hired, like back on bodybuilding forums. So that came out. He was hit with that $100,000 fine. But by most accounts, like Titus O'Neil, I think Big E, like a bunch of people actually kind of didn't come to his defense, but were like, what he might have said was awful, but he's acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And he knows that it's not okay, and that he is actually making an effort to make amends and to try to be better. So, like, that was interesting. And then he gets injured, and then he comes back, and then he, like, I might be getting the timeline wrong because I don't entirely remember.
I think he got injured. I think you're right so far. I think he got injured, came back, but went to the main roster app. Like,
yes,
yeah,
showed up on the main roster.
Started killing the Lucha House Party, and then started having, was it the anxiety attacks? Was directly after that.
Because it was basically, he started to have the anxiety attacks because this stuff that haunted him in NXT from his past just kind of resurfaced, because now it's a whole new audience.
Yeah.
And, you know, despite, you know, especially before it was on USA, NXT was very much it's still like the developmental brand. It's secondary. Like, I still remember when you and I were at the house show before Enzo and Cass got called up. They were the hottest thing on NXT. But whenever they came out to the house show, we were surrounded by people like, who's this?
Who's South?
Who's Southed? Who is Southed? And it was, and so, you know, you gotta think that, okay, well, now there's this whole new group of people who are going to see this stuff. And apparently that gave him legit anxiety attacks, because the rumor was he was supposed to have a program with John Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he was going to have a big story, and it, like, and again, like, I'm not a big Lars Sullivan fan, but that's not one of the reasons why. Like, that whole situation. Because at the same time, like, it is a very judgmental business, I guess is a good way to say it. And it's very easy to become self-conscious. And when you're somebody like Lars Sullivan that already had a pretty checkered past, to get your chance to go up to the main roster and then all of that come back, and then instantly, like, because he wasn't on the main roster long, and that John Cena stuff was looking like it was going to start. Like, I bet it was nerve-wracking, and I bet he had a lot of anxiety and going through that, and then on top of not being super secure with his past coming back, like, dude had every reason to have anxiety attacks. And I will never fault him for that. It's just a shame that it happened all for him, because I'm sure he could have had, because, like, he was never bad in ring. Like, he wasn't the greatest thing to, like, brag home about, but he was never bad. He wasn't one of the indie NXT like, he wasn't an indie darling from NXT. He was a Performance Center guy. And, like, so, like, you had that going for you. WWE wanted to push him, so the second they were able to, he just, his mind couldn't get with it, which is super unfortunate.
And, like, I mean, and he was solid for a big guy. Like, you know, as a monster heel, he could have been, you know, pretty good, I think. I don't think that we really had a chance, because I also think he's someone that could have cooked in NXT a little bit longer. But now it's a matter of, you know, we'll never really know. So he gets taken off of TV to deal with his mental health, which is one, you know, for as willing as we are to call out WWE for all the bad stuff that they pull, actually respecting things like this is a good thing, and they should get credit for it. Yeah,
and agreed. And that's one of the things, like, I'll give the Lars Sullivan thing is a tragic story, but at the same time, it really showed the good that WWE could potentially do from time to time.
And so he comes back on SmackDown, gets injured again, because then he had knee surgery.
Yep.
I think this was a separate injury. Again, my timeline is super fuzzy because I haven't thought about him all that much. It was just one of those things where it's like, okay, here he is. Ooh, should he really be here? Okay, okay, now he's gone. Okay, now he's back again. Okay, now he's gone. Then he's back again. And then and you just keep forgetting that he was there. So then it's found the porno that he did before he was obviously signed to WWE.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's, you can make all the jokes you want about him, but you don't have to be homophobic. But it was a gay porn. It was a gay porn that he did. And when you look at some of the comments that he had made previously, that is just kind of mind-blowing a little bit because he did not say a lot of the things that he was catching crap for was because of the racist, homophobic stuff that he was putting online.
Yeah.
Which, again, was years before he was in WWE. By most accounts of the people who actually, like, worked with him and know him, who would actually be upset at these things, were saying that he was a different person. Actually working at the Performance Center and being around different people of different backgrounds actually helped him grow as a person. And I think that people should be held accountable for how they present themselves online and in person. We've talked about it countless times. The 31-year-old Asa is sick to my stomach when I think of some of the things that I said because I thought they were funny when I was in high school and when I was in college and on Xbox Live. But you learn and you grow and you try to do better.
Yeah.
And if someone is making an honest effort, that shouldn't be held against them. Like, I mean, yeah, obviously they have to show the work, they have to do the work, but just because someone's made a mistake doesn't mean that they can't change. And if you don't give them that chance, then what's the point? Like, what can they do?
Yeah, we can't expect people to be perfect on Front Street. That being said, like, I do feel like people should adhere to common decency. But
right.
If there are respected people in the locker room saying, like, nah, dude is trying, then I have to take those people at face value. Because, like, you look at this situation, and then I'm going to pull a Shannon. We'll talk about Hulk Hogan for a second, where Lars Sullivan has took the proper steps to get people in the locker room that those comments were not that it was personal attack, but the people that those comments affected.
Right.
And they were like, no, like, he's apologized for it. He has done everything that he is taking the proper steps to prove that he is bettering himself. Whereas Hogan pretty much just apologized and said, well, be careful what you say online, brother. And then you have people being like, no, I'm not, I don't respect that because it's not an earnest, it's not an earnest attempt.
Because he basically apologized for getting caught and then, like you said, was just like, oh, well, use me as a learning experience that you're never really, off the record. And it's like, no, that's not an apology. It's like the piece of shit rapist Brock Turner trying to do speaking about, like, well, don't overdrink at parties because look what could happen to you. Like, no, you didn't get in trouble because you got too drunk. You got in trouble because you are a rapist.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. So, but yeah, and like I said, none of us were there. We don't know, but we've heard enough from people and especially it's people who seemingly are held in such high regard by everyone, like Titus O'Neil and Big E, who were, and I think Kofi even also said something, but this was, years ago when this first broke.
Yeah.
Of just like, no, he actually like sought us out and tried to apologize and show that he's not that person anymore. So, but it looks like he was released among and he mentioned in the talk with Fightful of his mental health was really keeping him from his dream job of being able to perform and able to shake those feelings. So it's unfortunate. I do feel bad for him because it seemed like he was putting in the work, and I do think that is important. Like, it obviously doesn't completely absolve him, but it's just, I want to think that people are capable of growth and are capable of getting better.
Yeah, and like, I'm gonna leave the chat for a second because I also don't think Lars Sullivan is an old dude. Like, I want to say we're probably, if he's not your age, he's my age.
No, he's like 32. Because that was something I saw on Reddit.
Yeah, he's 32.
Like, I was surprised. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, the dude's not... And we're talking about things from 10, 12 years ago that he was saying online. That was a dumb 20-year-old. Now, is that an excuse? No. But at the same time...
Like I said...
At the same time, if he was doing the work to be a better person, we have to hold him accountable. Like, we have a lot of dumb 20-year-olds in wrestling that said stupid stuff and are actively paying the price for it. Like, there's people in AEW that's had to do that. And if we have to like hold everybody to a similar standard, in my opinion. to where it's like, all right, you messed up. What are you doing to fix it? Like, you said something stupid a long time ago. Do you still hold those beliefs? If you do, we have an issue. But if you've been trying to fix it since saying said stupid stuff, like, that's... I'm not going to say commendable, because I would just assume that people weren't dumb. I would just like that people not say shitty things. But this is the world we're in. It's going to happen. But yeah, it's the whole thing. Like, we have to hope that people can grow.
Yeah.
And it seems like he was trying, and it's a bummer that it was his, like, it's one thing when it's an injury, like a physical injury versus a mental injury, because like physical injury is just like, man, anybody can get hurt anytime. It's a real bummer that it was a mental health issue, because like, that in my opinion sucks even harder, that he couldn't have his dream job just because like his head couldn't agree with what he was doing.
Right.
And that just, that sucks.
And it is, but like I said, it is the only real positive to come out of it is it's, you know, apparently the relationship he had with WWE stayed good, like stayed positive. He was, again, very grateful, very thankful to them. And it's nice to see them take mental health issues seriously, because it's so easy to think of a company like WWE to be very dismissive of stuff like that. Especially, you know, when you think of pro wrestling typically, like, not to get into the whole, like, what Undertaker was
we were about to dig
the Joe
into
Rogan
this
interview of just like, oh, people are, you know, everybody's soft, and well, it's not what he said, but, you know, kind of alluding to just like when men were men type of mentality, which is toxic, and it doesn't help anybody. So,
and at the same time, like, he was talking about, like, yeah, people would carry guns and had alcohol in them at all times. And you know what? Honestly, that was taken out of context, because if an old wrestler had a weapon on him, it wasn't for another worker. It was because the fucking audience was dangerous, because it was a shoot to them. Like, right. That's why they had a weapon. It wasn't because...
in case someone started a riot.
Yeah, in case a fan was trying to mess with you, you could have a weapon. It wasn't to fight people. And so I got what Undertaker was saying. I didn't take it as seriously, but no, the whole, like, well, there was just a bunch of crusty old men, now it's a bunch of people looking pretty. Well, yeah, because wrestling evolved. You have, like, there's, like, two really gritty people in wrestling right now that, like, on mainstream wrestling, and one of them's Moxley, and the other one's escaping me. I'm sure there's one that exists. But, like, there's just people that are just like, oh, yeah, no, that's a person I wouldn't want to see in a bar, because if he sees me, he'd probably going to kill me. But, like, yeah, no, I don't want that old wrestling back, because a lot of those crusty old men are either in horrible condition right now, or dead. So...
I mean, and that's the big takeaway of it, is it's just like, oh, man, you brought your PlayStation with you? Why aren't you doing coke like an adult?
Yeah, like I hate that. I hate that mentality. I haven't listened to it yet because I don't have Spotify, and I'm gonna sit down and listen to that Taker podcast, because
I don't care for Joe Rogan that much. So it's like, this is one that I'm just gonna miss.
He had a really good one with Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, and I loved that one because I don't think either one of them realized how high they were getting in a 3-hour interview. So like hour 2, they were both just super fucking baked, and it was really funny. But yeah, no, we can bounce off that. It's just, it sounded like we were getting into that Taker territory, and I didn't think we've talked about it yet, because just the amount
I mean, I'm also willing to bet that we're both soft little Nancy boys, so obviously we're going to agree that it doesn't have to be big, strong, manly club.
Yeah, no, well, because again...
Look at the nonsense that I have behind me.
Oh, yeah, no, like, I get ripped on in locker rooms for not trying to be pretty, because nobody would ever claim me of that, but I am in the softer majority of workers in my area, and I think it's funny, because it's one of those just being like...
I mean, we were pitching you to have a typical annoying millennial gimmick.
Yeah.
Strictly just to annoy Axe.
Oh, and just so you know, I live that in my shoot life every time I go to Stride.
I know, and that's why we were going to turn it into a character so people could see it. But moving on to the next actual story, this one is less wrestling related, but I think it's super cool. Hasbro will be making a Sasha Banks figure based on her appearance in The Mandalorian, and I don't need to start another collection. I'm good.
No, I think like
here's my. This is wave 3 of AEW, because I don't have room for anything.
Yeah.
Wave 2 is in a bigger box next to it. I can't do it. But there's enough of those Star Wars black figures.
Black Series.
Black Series. Thank you. Yes. There's enough of those Star Wars Black Series figures that are really cool. I legitimately, the last time I was in Target, which it's been like a month ago.
Yeah.
I just swung by the toy aisle because I was in there, and there was a Luke Skywalker that came with a little Yoda.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's cool. And there's a bunch of other cool ones, but it was me staring at Doctor Doom in Walgreens last year, just of that Marvel Legend of just like, nope, I don't need to start this.
I need you to know that you almost got that Doctor Doom instead of Gambit.
Oh, really?
It was a long conversation about which one you were going to get between me and Sadie.
That's amazing. I would have liked both of them. It's just saying, like, it's very much there's not a wrong choice.
Yeah, no, it was just one of those that, but yeah, no, I think honestly, so, all right, we're going to go into the Asa collecting thing, and I'm going to be a drug pusher, yet also tell you the control. Don't get into Black Series figures, because some of them are really hard to get if you're just looking for your favorite characters, because I did mine at a really unhealthy time. I did it the week after the Rise of Skywalker happened. That's when I decided I was going to get into Black Series figures. And I bought 85% of my collection in one day.
I think I remember
because I went to St. Louis to do it, because this was also pre-COVID. So I got all the ones I needed. Like Mace Windu was the hardest one to find, because my Black Series figure collection is, did I like that character enough to own a plastic version of them? Yes, doing it. So like I have like Cal Kestis and stuff like that. I'm gonna get this one strictly because it's Sasha Banks.
Right.
Like if that,
because you haven't seen The Mandalorian, like even season 1 have.
No, I love season 1. I haven't seen season 2 yet.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Mandalorian season 1 is everything I love in a TV show, because it's basically an old Western with Star Wars in it. And like, yeah, Baby Yoda's super cool. I know he has a name, but his name's Baby Yoda to me. I haven't gotten to season 2 yet. But
I also haven't gotten to season 2 yet.
Like, that show is the perfect TV series for a Star Wars, like a live action Star Wars, because it's just a Western with Star Wars in it. And it's a Mandalorian that actually gets to do Mandalorian things. Doesn't fall in a Sarlacc pit, doesn't get his head cut off right away. Like, I finally get to see why Mandalorians are cool in live action.
The fact that I was able to resist Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian tells me that I will probably be able to resist the Sasha Banks one. So I will
make you a deal. If you get Sasha, I will go find Donald Glover as Lando and buy it for you. Because that figure.
Oh no, that'll show me.
That figure is so, like, that was one of the. I hadn't started collecting them yet. I only bought that one because it was Donald Glover. So like, I had an old Han Solo that I found at like a toy show that I was like, oh, this figure's cool. And I like Legends, so like this fits in scale with Legends. So I had a Harrison Ford Han Solo, and then I had the Donald Glover Lando Calrissian. Which, man, if I had a time machine, that's the movie I want.
I literally just watched Solo for the first time like a month ago because it was on Disney Plus.
It's so good.
Wednesdays are for wrestling. This isn't Star Wars and action figure talk. This really got away from us. But it's super cool. We don't know when it's coming out yet, but I'll probably be buying one because it's gonna come with a free Lando for me. So that's a solid deal. CM Punk it was announced that he was joining Stephen Amell's Heels, the television show about wrestling that will be on Showtime. A couple weeks ago, CM Punk posted on Twitter, entering my quarantine for a work-related thing, let the speculation begin. And people were losing their minds because some people were like really hoping it was going to be Royal Rumble. Some people were hoping it was going to be AEW. But it was, and then Stephen Amell posted a picture of the two of them in a ring and saying, "Welcome to the show," which again is called Heels. It'll be on Showtime. They're filming it now.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. I think I'm interested to see that show because I really like Stephen Amell. We know Cody Rhodes is part of it. We know now that CM Punk is a part of it, and Stephen Amell also just really likes, he's such a fan of pro wrestling that I'm real curious to see what this ends up being.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like, I love when there's wrestling shows and they get wrestlers to help produce it. Mm-hmm. Because, like, the greatest wrestling cinema of all time will forever be The Wrestler starring Mickey Rourke, because that is the most realistic rendition of wrestling, and I think it's because they had so many wrestlers help out with it. Mm-hmm. And, like, it gives it a lot of authenticity, because, like, we've seen wrestling presented, like, especially in the 90s, which is the era that me and you grew up in. Anytime we saw wrestling on anything that wasn't wrestling, it was the very campy, hokey, like, it was like Vader on Boy Meets World or Mankind on Boy Meets World or something like that, where it was like, it was a big goofy joke. Or it was the Mysteries of Wrestling Untold, where it's just this giant goof piece of, like, and then there's a stunt granny. Like,
the stunt granny.
Like,
I disagree, because when I think of wrestlers in TV shows, the two that come to mind are that 70s show, which has the Hardy Boys. They go to a live show which features the Hardy Boys wrestling each other, obviously not as the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
And the Rock playing his dad, and Bret Hart on Mad TV.
Yup, that was another
where
one.
He gets, like, they do it to where, like, he gets shoot mad at Sasso and starts to try to fight him, and then that turned into, like, an actual story. So that was always so weird, because even, like, as a kid, it's still, like, not being in the know of, you know, what wrestling actually is.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, this is weird. Like, he's not actually mad at that, is he? Like, why would he be? But yeah, those are my two go-to instances of wrestlers appearing in other stuff. And Bret Hart also in The Simpsons. I don't know why, but that image is always just, like, stuck in my head.
Another good one, really quick, before we, the one that we forgot that's the best one, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Celebrity Deathmatch. All right, you can go on to the next story.
Oh, God. Celebrity Deathmatch. John Cena says that appearing at WrestleMania is not mathematically possible. It is due to his... Actually, I'm going to pull up the actual article. Oh, but I don't want to pull that up on...
Is it the Eternals? Is that what it is?
I'm not going to... No, it's Peacemaker.
Oh, so Suicide Squad?
Yes, but no. John Cena will star in Mountain Dew Super Bowl ad, but not at WrestleMania. This is from SportsIllustrated.com from Justin Barrasso, dear Lord. First they start off because he's going to be in a Super Bowl ad for Mountain Dew, the new Major Melon flavor,
which is
that has $1 million giveaway as part of it. And then they talk about WrestleMania, and where is the part? Currently, I'm in Vancouver shooting Peacemaker, the series, for HBO Max. So it's his Suicide Squad character is getting its own, probably prequel, because I just assume everybody that's part of this James Gunn Suicide is going to die. And series for HBO Max. Cena says, given the quarantine regulations, if I were to leave Canada upon return, I would have to quarantine for another 2 weeks. Essentially, that would shut production down, strictly based on the letter of the law right now. There's no logistical way I can be there. We film now until July. And then... where does he say the actual... It's very difficult to say because I know it's going to be disappointing for a lot of people, but according to the letter of regulation right now, there is no mathematical way I can be at WrestleMania this year. Which, on the one hand, it's a bummer, but because it's Cena, and, like, say what you will about him, but he usually, Big Match John is a thing.
Yeah.
And they have, they could tell some interesting stories with him. And honestly, the main reason I want him to come back to WWE TV is I want him to address what happened with The Fiend at last year's WrestleMania. Like, he can't just come... I feel like they can't just have him just come back. Like, hey, nothing happened, everything's fine, because you were mind-controlled and joined the NWO for a split second. Like, we need to let's get into this. But I also know in my heart of hearts that that's exactly what they'll do.
Yeah.
That he'll just show back up as Cena and it'll be fine. So it's possible that he could always do, like, a video package or something, or, like, an interview, like they had with, like, The Rock did for SmackDown, whatever the last, like, historic SmackDown was. So, yeah. But it's And also at the same time, not having another part-time person come back is fine by me.
Yeah, because like I think that Mania is going to be fine because you're gonna like I'm assuming that Goldberg is going to be there.
What do you think? So if you think Goldberg's going to be there, what do you think he'll do?
Squash somebody. It won't be for a belt, unless because everybody thinks that the big Roman Reigns one is going to be The Rock, unless they do that with Goldberg. But I really don't. There's no logistical story that's going to make sense for me that would put Goldberg against Roman. Except for, hey kid, you're next. And like, that shit flew in 2001.
You stole I'm Goldberg. You stole my move. The end. That's all they have to do. Like, ignore the fact that he just lost another world championship match in 3 minutes. That's all they have to do, because it's Goldberg. I also don't buy that it's going to be The Rock this year. I think we would have already...
I think that...
something would have already been said, because I think they would want to push that as hard as possible, but I think they're going to hold off for another year.
Where they can get a lot of fans.
That they can pack one of those, the stadium next year, which it's either Texas or California, I don't remember which one. But that's the one that'll be the one that has Roman versus The Rock.
Goldberg's, Caleb Carter just said Goldberg versus Braun in a squash match. Either way.
Yeah, but they already did that, didn't they?
Did they?
Because it was last year's WrestleMania. Because Goldberg beat The Fiend for the title. It was supposed to be Goldberg versus Reigns. Reigns was like,
oh, yeah,
no,
you're right.
Y'all know there's a pandemic, right? And dipped. So then they made the match Strowman versus Goldberg, and Strowman won it. Because it's very easy to forget that Braun Strowman was Universal Champion for like 2 months.
Yeah, and...
I don't think he really did much other than beat Miz and Morrison in a handicap match, but we saw that.
That's right. Yeah, I forget things, man. It's been 2020 was 5 years. It's really hard to like figure out what was what.
Mm-hmm. And also that was like the least memorable thing. Like when you think back to last year's WrestleMania, that was one of the least memorable parts of it between Firefly Funhouse,
the Boneyard match. Taker beat AJ so hard his buddies got released.
Mm-hmm. From their bodies. Murdered them. And that's canon. Let's see. Moving on. But yeah, no Cena this year at WrestleMania. More than likely, like I said, he could always show up as like in a video package or interview or something, setting up for something farther down the line. But I feel like this will be... I would doubt that's going to be a reality.
Yeah.
Probably the best news of the week, and for a really long time, Sami Zayn has announced that his charity, Sammy for Syria, has now raised over $250,000, and the limited edition shirts that he partnered with Danhausen, love that Danhausen, raised almost $3,000 just on its own. And if you don't know the shirt, if you don't know Danhausen, just go to Twitter, go to Google now, and you're welcome.
And fall in love.
But it's, for those of you who do know and haven't seen the shirt, it's Danhausen's face, but he's wearing, like, full makeup, but he's wearing the El Generico mask.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Part of me wanted to buy it, but I have this weird thing that I don't like to spend money on clothes. Like...
yeah,
plastic garbage that I will leave in the box forever. $60 shirt.
Lame.
$20 for a shirt $20 for a shirt that I will have like for the next 10, 15 years. I don't know. That's but that's awesome. That's huge. Over $250,000 since 2017, providing healthcare and humanitarian aid to displaced civilians in Syria. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Danhausen. That's amazing. Since we're on a Danhausen recommendation, I don't know what the video is called, but it's his interview series. But the one he did with Lance Archer is incredible. It's from a while back, because Lance Archer was the IWGP United States champion. Is a kitty.
Yep, there's Maisie.
Don't show us your butthole, though. And it made me want to be friends with the Murder Hawk, which I didn't expect. So... but that's super cool. Speaking of the IWGP United States Championship, accidental segue. Hell yeah. Jon Moxley returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling to confront Kenta, making their match in February official for that championship. Kenta's been holding that championship briefcase opportunity for months now. They were supposed to wrestle forever ago, but pandemic kept things from happening. Yep. And then also not really returning, but coming back to programming in New Japan is Jay White. And the main reason I even included that as part of it is to show that I am a good loser, and say that they got me hook, line, sinker, because I was really hoping Jay White would show up at the Rumble. I just thought that would be fun.
Yeah.
I knew it wouldn't be to the same level as AJ, but I think there's plenty of people in WWE that I would love to see Jay White wrestle. So, but he's still in New Japan, still part of the Bullet Club, still doing their kind of social media feud with the Young Bucks and the Elite. That's also just making me, again, just now full on, they got me. Because I want to see new Bullet Club versus, or like actual Bullet Club versus
the Elite
AEW version.
Yeah.
Yeah, against the Elite. So, because I just think I am very sports entertained by all of that going on.
Yeah. It's a shame. Like, I love that Finn Balor and AJ Styles are in WWE right now, because if one of them wasn't, we could have the Elite, the Bucks and Kenny. We could have the OG Bullet Club with Gallows, Anderson, and Devitt, or you could still have like Retro Bullet Club or whatever. You could just call them the Club. Screw it. With AJ and Gallows and Anderson, or Gallows and Anderson and Devitt, and then have New Bullet Club with Guerrillas of Destiny and Jay White. Mm-hmm. And oh my god, yeah, all day long.
Trios matches from now until eternity. Yeah. Gimme.
I'm trying really hard to censor Maisie's butt on this live feed.
It's your recording partner.
Yeah.
And then last story before we get into the Royal Rumble reactions and review is they released the sculpts for AEW's Unrivaled Series 5 today.
Yup.
And it's cool stuff. I'm excited for it, but I will air one frustration. So the figures that we're getting in Wave 5 we're getting another Hangman Page and another Jon Moxley. And then new figures we're getting Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. And we're getting Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
Yes.
We're getting two groups that I very much enjoy, but we're not getting the one person in each of those groups that I most want in an action figure, being Christopher Daniels in SCU and Marco Stunt in Jurassic Express.
Yeah.
So I get it. Our friend Tyler, that we're in a group chat of action figure collectors, that they help us get a bunch of stuff that we were never going to see in Cape Girardeau. He's constantly talking to us about, it's getting they have to have those anchor figures. That's why we've now had 6 Codys, why we're getting another ringside exclusive Cody. It's why we're getting multiple Jon Moxleys. It's why we're getting multiple Kenny Omegas. And it makes sense. I totally understand it. But just, you're releasing people from these trios groups, and my favorite member of those trios isn't getting a figure. The whole reason I started my AEW collection was so I could eventually get a Marco Stunt.
Yeah. So
and I was just like, I could start from scratch here. But the figures, the sculpts themselves look cool.
Yeah, so
I'm excited.
I'm 50-50 on the reprints, because again, we're at Series 5, and we're not at Series 5 yet. It's super important to that. Series 4 hasn't shipped to anybody that pre-ordered it yet, so we're still a little bit like a month away from getting Series 5 or 4 into people's hands, let alone Series 5, which we don't even have painted. We don't have colored renders yet. We have
these are just...
It was sculpt renders, which if anybody that hasn't followed me talking about wrestling figures in the last 5 years here, the sculpt renders are just gray with what the sculpts are going to look like. And we got that. The big bummer to me is the chases are also Moxley and Hangman. So in theory, well, not in theory, in reality, we will have gotten 4 Jon Moxleys and 3 Hangman Pages by now. By whenever Series 5 hits, between chases and that, we have all of these. Which is fine. Like, I understand you need anchor figures, but at the same time, they have such a vast array of characters that they could have made figures for by now and released that people are gonna buy. So, that being what it is, I'm going to defend the 4 out of the 6 being members of Trios group, but not giving us the full group, because WWE does the exact same thing.
No, I know. Like I said, I understand.
It's a bummer that it's the one person from each group we want the most.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I've been waiting, and I will say, I have been waiting for decades for an awesome Christopher Daniels action figure.
I can get you one.
Why haven't you?
I think
you can't.
It's in St. Louis. I'm pretty sure Time Warp still has it, but Toy Biz, the people that made the original Marvel Legends, they had the original Impact Wrestling line. Mm-hmm. So there's Christopher Daniel figures out there, because I've almost bought them, because like there was at one point in my collecting where I was going to have a shelf of people I've worked shows with, but like that's really annoying because like Glacier never got a figure. I had a Joey Ryan, but they got rid of it because obvious. And then like the amount of people that I'm gonna have to backlog find that I either already have that I have to move to different shelves, like I just kind of gave up on it. But the AEW line was exciting because there's so many people on that roster that I have worked shows with. Now it's like, all right, cool. I want that Daniels figure the most, and I've almost bought that Impact figure for that reason, was to put it up on that shelf. But then, like, Kazarian and Daniels, or Kazarian and Sky only have the micro brawlers, and that's a big old bummer. But now, like, going back to the AEW thing, like, WWE does the same thing. It's just the bummer that it's the one person from each group we want the most. Right. I have all the confidence in the world that Marco is going to be released, and I don't know, obviously, but like I have a feeling that he will be released in it at least within 4 waves, because there's no reason that you would give us Jurassic Express without giving us Marco, because Jurassic Express was a thing within the first. I mean, Jurassic Express was a thing by the time Moxley came in. Those 3 were grouped together by the time Moxley was there.
Right.
So like, there's no reason that they wouldn't give us a Marco right away.
Yeah.
Especially if they already gave us Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Now, getting back to the sculpt set we have seen, not what we want, but what we've actually seen, the Luchasaurus looks amazing. Again, it's not painted, there's no color to it yet, but the sculpt itself looks amazing. Like this, the mask work looks awesome. The Jungle Boy looks really, really good.
Those are probably the 2 that I'm most excited to get. Like, I'm excited to get another Hangman, honestly, because like this is the one time a duplicate of the duplicates we've gotten so far. Don't get me wrong, I love Kenny Omega, I love Cody Rhodes, but like Hangman and Mox are just above
for you.
So yeah, and also because I don't know, Hangman's so cool. I don't know what it is about him, but just like there's something there that I did
tell you. I've told you the markiest story that I've ever marked, right?
I don't think so.
It was Super Show. He was at Super Show 2. Yeah. He was the general manager for Super Show 2, and that was like 3 weeks after we were in New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
And I just started training at CCW, so I was about ready to tear the ring down. The show just got over, and I was just happened to be standing right next to Hangman. And I was like, hey, dude, I don't want to bother you, but your match with Kota Ibushi was my favorite match that weekend.
It was so good. Oh, it was so good.
And, like, I had to do it. Like, because it was one of those, like, I had to let this man know that he had me so sports entertained. And it wasn't just because it was Kota Ibushi. That match was, if you have a chance, it was Super Card of Honor 2018.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was Super Card of Honor 2018. It was Cody and Kenny's first match against each other. But, like, Kota Ibushi and Hangman were, like, the second match on that card, and they tore it down. That being said, so you're going to try to buy all of the main releases to a certain point, right?
Yeah, and, well, we'll get to that in a second. There's a follow-up to this story, but yes, it's up to a certain... At a certain point, I'm going to get everything, and then I just have to stop buying duplicates.
Yeah. So the way that I'm going to do it, and this was...
Pre-ordered that ringside exclusive Cody, though, so who's part of the problem? I'm part of the problem.
So, yeah, here is what my big end game is going to be with these figures. And I think you've seen me type this out, but I'll just explain it here. I am never going to sell Wave 1. Because those will all be iconic figures forever. It was the first AEW figures, so like I have everything but the chases from Wave 1. I have, and the UK exclusive, I didn't get that one. I have Bubbly Jericho, I have all of Wave 1, and then I have the Ring Kenny. So those figures, in my opinion, don't count for duplicates. Those will forever be in my collection.
Not now because we're recording, but I need you to talk me out of buying the ring.
Just
at a certain point.
I got you. Yeah, because you're never going to open it.
I will never open. It's not going to open it.
Yeah.
That would be stupid.
Right.
So go on.
So I'm going to keep all of those. Those figures will never get sold. Those will stay in my collection forever. It's like my CM Punk from Elite Set 32. I'll never sell it, even though it's one of the lamest CM Punks, but it was the first Elite I ever bought. So that figure will always be in my collection. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get everybody I want. And then I'm going to treat it like Elites. If there is a better version of the Young Bucks, I'm going to sell my old Young Bucks. Not Wave 1. Mm-hmm. I got Wave 3 coming in. So, at Wave 9, if they give me a set that I like the gear more, I'm going to sell those. The Hangman is pretty essential. I don't know if I'm going to get Wave 5 Hangman. I don't know if I'm going to get Wave 5 Moxley. Because if I get one of those, I have to sell the old one. And, I know Caleb Carter said, unpopular opinion, he didn't like Wave 2 Hangman, which is fair. The face is kind of weird. But I love that Hangman. The Kenny Omega in the Wave 3, Wave 3 that's coming out, and the Cody from Wave 3, I'm buying both of them. Because I don't have a Kenny and Cody yet. That isn't in the first wave of figures. And they also have that really bleached out body. So I need to have the updated skin tone for everybody. So I'm going to I'm only drug addicting myself a little bit. So in fairness, I have Wave 1 and now I have to buy everybody I want from now on.
Yeah.
So
which that's the smart way to do it. I'm just buying once it goes up on Ringside Collectibles, I just grab the Wave because it ships all at the same time and it's
which
easy enough. Plus there's been enough it hasn't, aside from maybe the Wave 4 Cody or Wave 3 Cody, whichever the one that Wave 3 Cody. That was the first one that I was really really, come on. The Young Bucks, I didn't mind.
It was Wave 4. It was Wave 4. You're okay. Yeah, Wave 4.
Because the Young Bucks, I was I didn't mind as much because I don't love the gear that they're in Wave 1, the Elvis gear from the pay-per-view. So, but
also
Jeremy.
Oh, and one last thing. The other reason that I'm not going to sell Wave 1 is because the gear in the ring is the green Kenny Omega gear that I think he's worn in New Japan, and that's my favorite Kenny Omega gear. So whenever I get that Wave 4 Kenny, I'm just going to take the top off of it, the upper body, because those things just pull apart. I need to I need to just bring my figures to you once all this is over, so you can see what I'm talking about. But you can just pull those bodies apart really easily, and it doesn't tear them. There's no damage done. It's super fun for customizers. So I'm going to take that updated skin tone Kenny, pop it off Wave 4, and then put it on the gear I want, and then just keep the washed out body with that gear and put it in a bag somewhere and never sell it. Or I'll sell the lower body online for $10. Because Jazzwares made those figures super easy to customize.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll send pictures of it tonight, what I'm talking about.
Okay. But so Jeremy Padawar, he was the one that posted all these. He's the dude in charge of Jazzwares. Well, I don't know if he's in charge, but he does the AEW stuff with Jazzwares. And where is... he mentioned one thing about the chases. Just because you see a sculpt in a chase doesn't mean you will never get that sculpt in a mainline or exclusive. Eye Patch John Moxley will never be available again as shown, but that sculpt with updated deco can find its way into the line, and that goes for any chase or rare. So that's cool that, you may be missing out on one specific figure, but it's not that's the only chance we'll get the Eye Patch John Moxley.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
I just want biker shorts John Moxley. That's all I want. That would be enough to make me keep 2 John Moxleys. Because I have
because it is different.
Because I have the Hideo Atomic Basic figure. That's enough for me.
But so he also goes on to talk about because this is the Unrivaled series, but they are doing another line of figures where he says pairing AEW Unrivaled with Unmatched will give us the opportunity to dive deeper into the roster. The key is balancing main event talent, mid-card talent, and up-and-coming talent. 2 assortments will help tremendously. We will absolutely celebrate the incredible roster of women in AEW. It's been a miss. No excuses. With Unmatched and Unrivaled, we will do better. The timeline of developing a line of action figures is approximately 9 months from concept to shelf.
Which is something...
That includes all...
that's something you've heard me bitch about for years.
Yeah, that includes all approvals. If you ever wondered why it takes time to address things from availability to factory changes to talent in a roster, newbies, and champions, the objective is to celebrate AEW Series 100 with you on February 3rd, 2029. So they've got a long-term plan, and it's good to see them address the fact that the lack of women talent being represented in these figures is it's abysmal.
Because we're sitting at like...
Not seeing it.
We're sitting at like 30 figures. Between 30 and 35, I think. And between chases and exclusives and shit. And we've seen 2 women. And not... well, alright. If I'm playing by my same rules that I just stated, 3 women. Because Riho was the chase in wave 3.
Okay. Yeah, because we've gotten Brandy Rhodes, who wasn't even, like, even when, before she was pregnant, wasn't a full-time wrestler.
Yeah.
She was more of a manager and character. Like, she wrestled occasionally, but it wasn't all she did. And then we have Rio.
And you could really only find Brandy on ringside. There was, like, a handful of them that were in St. Louis. That's all I knew that they...
You told me how much she was going for, potentially, and that made me consider selling everything. Of just like, you know what, I'm going to cash out now and just...
If you want to, I need a Darby, so holler at me.
And then the last thing that he mentioned that I think is an interesting, referees, announcers, managers. It's all coming. I'd say trust the process, but that's not accurate in this case because it's not one way. So trust the process-ish. We are listening and reacting in real time while we run the game plan. And that kind of lines up with the idea that the Unmatched series that was announced isn't going to be like a basics versus elite,
which I
because
hope
it's
not.
going to have all the same. It's supposedly going to have all of the same articulation and same quality of figures. It's just going to be who is represented. So like Unrivaled will be more of the roster people, and Unmatched will likely be. That's where we'll end up getting a Jake the Snake Roberts, a Sting. He mentioned referees, so like an Aubrey Edwards, or a Rick Knox, or
Bryce Remsburg.
Bryce Remsburg.
And it's super
Excalibur, Taz. You know, there's a ton of cool, and also people that we may see on AEW Dark who are signed to AEW but aren't necessarily being used currently, or whatever. It's time for them to get a figure on AEW Dynamite.
Brandy bought half of her own figures. Probably. That's smart.
I would.
Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona has so many of his own figures. All of them. It's silly. He uses them for giveaways all the time. But no, so a couple things I'm looking at the chat that I'm just going to kind of tie up loose ends since we're talking about AEW figures. Caleb said that they need to get more of these out in stores. I agree. But right now we really are having a problem with scalping as a whole. And also... Jazzwares isn't owned by AEW. If AEW owned Jazzwares, AEW figures should be fucking everywhere. They're not. Jazzwares is its own company. They have to test the market. You can't just flood it right away, because if you do and you have peg warmers, that's really bad to have peg warmers for a figure wave that is not even 5 waves in.
Right.
So they have, and he's even said that, like, wave 1 is going to test how much we need to make. Wave 2 is going to show us if we need to keep that up. And wave 3 and 4, 5 is going to be when we can start pumping them out. And we've seen that because wave 3 got like 6 pre-orders. Wave 4 got like 6, 7 pre-orders. Whereas wave 1 didn't get that many. I think they went to 2 or 3 pre-orders and then it pretty much shut down and we had to hope for a restock. So
plus now they're going to be available they're not Walmart exclusives anymore.
Yes.
You can get them at Target as well, so that should help.
Yeah. And like you have to assume soon they're going to be popping up at Walgreens and shit like that. It's just one of those, we have to really trust the process on getting them there. I was crazy about these figures, and don't get me wrong, I love these figures. I think these figures are, I'm not going to say they're better than Elites, they're their own animal. They have had some figures that I think are horrible, and they've had some figures that I'm like, that was my figure of the year last year. That being said, I'm not going to freak out over them anymore because I know they're going to make these people again.
Yeah.
The people that I really want, yes, when they make Marco, that's an instant ringside collectibles. I'm buying 3 of them, probably. Like, whenever I get the people that I absolutely love, those people are going to get pre-ordered. But, like, Wave 4, I didn't even pre-order any of them. Because they're going to make Proud and Powerful again. They're going to make a Matt Hardy again. They're going to make Sammy Guevara. There's nobody in any of these waves that they aren't going to make again. So there's no reason to lose my mind unless I can get a really good deal. I got a really good deal on most of Wave 3, so I bought them. But I didn't pre-order them like I did Waves 1 and 2, because I can wait. Mm-hmm. Like, WWE Elites have made me realize that. If it's not the figure I want right away, there's no reason for me to go out and get it, unless I absolutely think that they're going to get rid of anybody. And I don't think they are. AEW really hasn't released anybody. Just contracts have lapsed. Mm-hmm. So that's my long and short about it. Though we're talking about AEW figures who sold out Madison Square Garden in allegedly 4 minutes. I mean, yeah, that's
and plus anytime you get, elites aren't as hard to find just because they rarely are releasing this is the first time you've ever gotten a figure for this person.
And those figures are usually hard to find. As someone that collects someone that collects elites almost primarily, like, yeah, I haven't seen any of Wave 82 or 83 that had Keith Lee in it. Sadie had to get that for me for Christmas. If it's a first time in line, it's super hard to, like, unless you catch it on Amazon. Like Bianca Belair, didn't find her in the wild. Found Mae Young, though. That was
that's
weird.
what these are. And these are going to be, and these are the same thing because so many of them, this is the first action figure they've ever had. So that's automatically going to drive the interest up. Once everyone's kind of gotten their turn and we start seeing more of these duplicates, it's probably not out of the question that the duplicates are going to be easier to find.
And if these figures start popping off like they already are, like these figures, I say start popping off, they're insane. Like,
I was gonna say we're on wave 5 of them popping off.
Yeah, where it's just people want these wave after wave. They're going to start finding ways to pump more of them out. They're going to find more excuses. We're going to start getting these deluxe figures like we are with Cody with the 3 heads and the fucking shirt and the belt. Like, that's going to be super common. Brody Lee, I'm not looking forward to that figure releasing because I don't know how hard it's going to be to get. And
that one's I'm going to have to get lucky and catch it on ringside while, like, the minute it goes up.
Yeah, and it's one of those, but, like, they're going to make them again. Mm-hmm. I have to tell myself that. I have so many Finn Balor figures. And I'm always worried about getting them. But they're going to make enough for me to get one. And if they're not going to make enough for me this first wave, they're going to make enough for me the second wave.
Right. My prediction, and I have nothing, I'm not basing this on anything, but my prediction is Brody, and we'll get into the Royal Rumble right after this. I'm willing to bet that Brody Lee will not be in a wave. I bet his first figure is going to be like the Cody. It's going to be, it may not be a ringside exclusive, but it's going to be one of those deluxe ones.
I really hope it's a ringside exclusive with 2 figures, him in a suit and him in gear.
Yeah.
Because that
could be super
That
cool.
would be really cool. Caleb, I want you to know that I love you, but when I saw you looking for figures that day, whenever I was looking for them for Red Daniels, I got really nervous. We were hunting for figures the same day for AEW figures. He got a Jericho. And then it becomes... That Jericho,
and then it turns into the Royal Rumble. It's every man for himself. So hey, speaking of the Royal Rumble, that was on Sunday, and hot take, it was a pretty fantastic show.
I loved it.
It's not a hot take at all. I thoroughly enjoyed pretty much every part of it. Let me get it pulled up on my phone so that light is not just blinding me.
The women's tag match happened.
I haven't found Google's dark mode option for the Notes app, and that's what I use to keep all my
notes
links and stuff on. Yup.
I see little murder mittens behind my computer, and I want to touch them, but I know she's going to kill me.
No touch the beans.
Got it.
No touch the beans.
Sorry, guys. There's a cat that's recording with me, and sometimes I got to pet her. It just happens.
There we go. The pre-show was the results. There we go. That was the tag match for the Women's Tag Team Championships, which we both got that prediction right because Baszler and Jax regained the titles from Charlotte and Asuka after Charlotte got distracted and then almost rolled up, but then a loaded women's right, but we never saw what Lacey used to hit her in the face with. So that was just kind of weird. But that's fine. I don't like when they have the tag champs being held the tag championships being held by one of the singles champions, especially for the women's division, just because it seems like that they use that as an excuse to not spotlight more people in the division. So, and even though I'm not a huge fan of the pairing between Jax and Baszler, it's interesting enough that, I will continue to watch and see what they do. But we each got that one right.
Yep.
The singles match for the WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre defeated Goldberg in 2 minutes and 32 seconds. It was everything it needed to be. Goldberg really shouldn't wrestle for more than 5 minutes, especially, now. It made Drew look like a badass because he kicked out of the spear and the jackhammer, and he got speared through the barricade in near the LED screens. So, and then there was the weird moment after where Goldberg's like, "You passed the test." Like, since when are you the gatekeeper of the WWE Championship that you never held, buddy? Like,
but he passed the test. He was next and got an A++.
This whole feud has been a swing and a miss for me, which, I mean, a lot of it's not really their fault because Drew tested positive for COVID, couldn't appear on the shows.
Yeah.
But also just that Nightmare Raw where they ran over time and Goldberg comes out and says, "I heard what you said." No, you didn't, because he didn't cut the promo yet. And they just had to act like he did. Yeah. But I'm happy Drew won. And
I'm just happy that I'm going to get a new Goldberg Elite in fight shorts.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to. It's gonna happen. They have that Brock Lesnar mold. They have it. It's there. They just have to put the Brock Lesnar bottom, Goldberg top, done.
Goldberg doesn't look like... It's fine. Whatever. Moving on. Sasha Banks defeated Carmella by submission. I also really like this match.
That match was really good.
We both shared a terrifying "did we just watch someone die moment whenever Carmella hit the dive and she just kind of skid and almost scorpioned on it. That was terrifying. But my only complaint is it seemed like the ending kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. Like it was a little anticlimactic for me. But other than that, I thought that was a really, really good match. I thought it was a good use of Reginald. And I like Carmella as a performer way more than I really expected to. Like this character reboot has been amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what she continues to do.
And it's one of those, you got to give her credit because we have seen similar-esque gimmicks given to women talent and it not work even a little bit. But Carmella was she was able to be like, all right, this gimmick could be the worst thing ever. Or if I put a lot of time, effort, and energy into it, the best thing ever. Because that I'm really hot and I like champagne. That's not a gimmick, but it is for Carmella. I don't know how, but it is, and she figured out how to make it work. And that's another reason why it's man, I think she's very underappreciated for what she's able to do.
Especially when you compare what she was doing before she left, where she was R-Truth's sidekick in the 24/7.
And she was amazing in that. She's one of those people that just, that's what I'm doing. All right, cool. Let's see how good I can make it. I feel like that's what she says. Even if she's that sucks. But, she's just oh, yeah, that's how I do it. And yes, Caleb, that is exactly what I am talking about. Emelina, he said in the group chat, I wonder if this is what they had planned for Emelina. Yeah. Yes, Caleb, I think you are onto something. And that's what I'm saying. Emma wouldn't have been... Emma would not...
Shades of...
Yeah.
Because they've been, like you said, they've been trying for years to bring back, a Divas-era sex appeal character.
Yeah.
But except now she can actually wrestle. And, we're going to spotlight that.
And that's one of my favorite things about Scarlett Bordeaux. Because, we haven't...
Smoke show.
Yeah, we haven't seen her really wrestle. She's pretty good. But it's one of those where it's just it's fine in women's wrestling if you have somebody whose thing is just really attractive. Because we have that in men's wrestling, too. It's the thing of it is we don't need to go back to 2005 where that was everybody's thing. We have...
And that was...
we have legitimate athletes who that is their gimmick is how good they are at wrestling. We have Charlotte Flair. We have the women's equivalents of a John Cena, a Seth Rollins. So we're allowed to have a Chris Masters. Because we have establishing people up there now.
And the important part is, like you said, it's that they're actually good wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they're being allowed to showcase their talent as wrestlers as opposed to just being paraded out strictly for eye candy.
Yeah.
And to do bra and panties matches and super degrading shit like that. Which is part of why the 30-woman Royal Rumble match, which was I will agree with to a point of like it was one of the best Rumble matches that WWE's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I loved every part of it except for Jerry Lawler on commentary.
That was rough.
That seemed like that was a cruel joke to play on the women, because it's Jerry Lawler just doing his tired should have stayed in the 90s, shouldn't have happened in the 90s even shtick of look how hot they are. And it's like, no, these are amazing athletes who, like, I would say probably most of them are better wrestlers than he is. And he's not talking about their talent or the moves. He's talking about their looks. And it's super annoying when that happens. But it was a fantastic Rumble. We got to see Victoria. That is my biggest takeaway, because
that was amazing.
Huge Victoria mark. Becky Lynch pissed me off because she posted the picture of the curtain and then didn't come out. The Billie Kay coming out and trying to pair up with everybody and just everyone rejecting her until Jillian Hall. We got a Jillian Hall appearance, was super cool. Then we got Billy in, but then Peyton comes out, and then Ruby, then the Riot Squad is out there, and her being torn between who she's supposed to help.
I am so happy. All right, so I'm so happy we're doing video for this exact moment, Asa. Did you catch the super small thing whenever Billy was helping out Peyton and Jillian? Or I think it might have I don't know if Peyton was out yet, but Billy Kay saved Ruby Riott really quick, and it's just her and Jillian in the corner, and Billy Kay's just like, we good? Are we good? And she does the little hand signal, but upside down, and I lost it. I was like, Billy Kay is one of the best things in women's wrestling. With her and Peyton doing the teaming up for something, and then Peyton doing the Iconics thing, but Billy hesitating because Ruby Riott is just staring daggers I thought, oh, you want to be in the Riot Squad? Okay. That was incredible. But just the whole her just going, yeah. Just oh my God. I love her.
But Bianca Belair coming out at number 3, winning the entire thing. It was a little telegraphed. Doesn't matter. It was amazing. I loved it. Because I think Bianca Belair is insanely talented. I don't know why it took me a little bit to warm up on her, but once I did, I'm all in on Bianca Belair. She's incredible. And if we do get her versus Sasha at WrestleMania, that is arguably probably going to be the match to beat for that weekend.
Yeah, you're not even oh, it's so good. Those two are so good. I love Bianca Belair. She's one of those people that stuck out to me right away. Whenever she started at WWE, and it's because she was hitting people with hair, which is super dumb, but
see, and that was the thing. I didn't like that. I thought that was stupid, and I think that was part of why I didn't like her, because for a while on NXT, that was her deal.
Yeah.
Is she was the chick with the hair, and that was about it. But now that we've got the EST and so much other stuff that she's done to grow as a character, I'm able to latch onto that.
She's so good.
And that's what's really clicked with me. Also, just because we forgot to mention, the WWE Championship match, I did predict Drew McIntyre to win that. Yep. Dalton did not, so I win there. And then also, for the Women's Royal Rumble match, I predicted Bianca Belair, who also won. And Charlotte didn't. She was in the final 3, which was a phenomenal final.
Oh, yeah, you saw that one, and you're just well, there's no losers here. There's not
no, there's definitely losers. There's absolutely
there's
losers.
2 of them.
Because if Charlotte would have won, I would have been very, very sad. Because that's what we were talking about in the live stream was, I wouldn't mind if Rhea Ripley got it as a redemption arc from last year. Obviously I want Bianca Belair to get it, but Charlotte's really the only person in either Rumble match that I don't want to win.
Yeah.
She's the only one I'm actively rooting against just because she doesn't need it. It's not going to enhance anything. She let someone else get it, and they did. So I'm happy there. But it was such a fun Rumble, a lot of really cool stuff. There the only big mishap, like I said, other than Lawler, was whenever Tori Wilson was eliminated. They were simultaneously eliminating Bayley.
Yeah.
So they had to react to the replay it was happening live, and it was that was kind of awkward. But other than that, it was an amazing Rumble match, and I in my opinion, the right person, the perfect person won.
Yeah. And I agree with Caleb Carter said he was happy they went with Bianca. Rhea would have been way too predictable, which I agree. But at the same time, I think Rhea Ripley is their best up-and-coming star that they have. So, I don't think she's going to need this win.
Yeah.
Because, I think
this this puts Bianca kind of on Rhea Ripley's level.
Yeah, agreed.
So and also like predictable doesn't always necessarily mean bad, because you could argue that Bianca Belair was predictable. But it's either way, like out of those two, I would have been fine with either. And then the match after that was the last man standing match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens.
Dude!
Again, I loved this match. It was super violent. It was super, they went all over the place.
Do they not realize that they were performing for a bunch of LED screens?
they were going to, they explored the space really well. They played with their environments. We got the knockoff golf cart spot.
You can tell that didn't get rehearsed well enough, because Roman was not expecting that
the glass to come in,
because he got hit too. Like, that looked super dangerous, and that's like, I love Sammy Guevara, I love Kevin Owens, I love Matt Hardy and Roman Reigns, but that is ignorantly dangerous. Like, oh yeah, no, that is a level of, like, in wrestling, everything has an air of danger to it. Like, you can get hurt doing anything. But when you make it more dangerous...
But that was, like, unnecessarily.
Unnecessarily dangerous. Like, when you take the padding and just have exposed boards. Why? We know it hurts, and it's like, that's not doing anything for anybody.
Or pulling the mats up on the outside to expose the concrete.
Yeah, like, you're only shitting on your own continuity. But this is just blatantly irresponsible and dangerous, and I fucking love it. But stop. Because the only reason I loved the Kevin Owens one was because Roman also got hit, and you can tell he was not looking, like, he wasn't expecting that to happen.
It was a moment for sure. Yeah. But it made Kevin Owens look like an absolute killer, and just like that he was willing to do anything because he was just jumping off of anything he could find.
Yeah.
Of course, the biggest downside though
is
the finish of the match, where Roman Reigns brings out the handcuffs. Kevin Owens gets the upper hands, handcuffs him in such a way that he really can't stand up to answer the 10 count, which I thought was creative. And then right at the 9 count, he yanks the referee, kills the referee with the set. And then Heyman comes out with he low blows Evans. Heyman comes out with the keys. Another referee comes out, and then they can't. It's in too awkward of a place. They can't get the handcuffs unlocked. So we go to a shot of Kevin Owens standing up. We go to a shot of the referee 5. And he just kind of wanders off camera. He just stops counting entirely.
Yeah.
Roman's not on his feet. And it's because they couldn't get the handcuffs off. So it makes Owens look kind of stupid, because he was just standing there waiting for Reigns to get he didn't do anything to try to stop Heyman.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything to continue to attack Reigns. He didn't get in the referee's face for not counting, even though Reigns wasn't on his feet. It was such a bummer way to end what was a really fun, violent match.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I hate that for both of them, because Reigns and Owens have insane chemistry with each other.
Yeah, and like the one thing, and I think I said it during your live stream, was I absolutely love the way they have booked Roman Reigns' finishes. Mm-hmm. Because they have done really neat things that, if done properly, like the I Quit match against Uso and him, where he couldn't get
against Jay,
where he couldn't get Jay to say I quit, so he started attacking Jimmy, and like little shit like that, where Reigns has, like, they have given him the most creative finishes, and that's why I'm going to give this one a pass, because they tried something, and you don't. I think with Reigns, they're trying to hit home runs a whole lot, and they've done a really good job hitting home runs with Reigns recently, that they should have tried to get a double, but they went for another home run and got greedy and ended up fouling out. Like, because that whole handcuff thing botched it. But I loved everything up until that point. The ref was getting to 9, grab the belt, throw him into the LED board. Fucking genius. That was, I can't stand up. Well, I can still hurt the referee because it's a no DQ match. Like, I loved that. That was amazing, like... That was good psychology. But then technical errors, fuck them. Like that. Like, that's a bummer. Because like that was
it's
nothing nobody could do. Like that was a.
And I don't know if it was just like it wasn't, if they didn't practice it correctly, or something changed between when they did and when it was airtime. But it's just a bummer that that's what's going to be the standout part of that match. And then the main event was the men's Royal Rumble match. Number 1 and 2 were Edge and Randy Orton. We knew that wasn't going to be a surprise because of the episode of Backstage that was there that aired the night before. Again, I liked the women's Rumble match more because it felt like there were different levels of stories being told, whereas the men's match really only had the Orton Edge stuff was really the biggest focus.
Yeah.
It felt like. Everything else was a lot smaller. Like you have the Big E, Xavier Woods working together to team up against Sammy and Mustafa Ali, which was cool to see, and stuff like that. But
oh god,
ultimately it Orton.
Did Ali eliminate Woods?
Yes.
Oh my god, Big E. Just whenever he saw it and he saw that he eliminated Woods, in just the instant, oh, you fucked up face. Like that was amazing.
Yeah, that was really good. Also, shout out to the New Day's gear because they were wearing the Brody Lee memorial gear, which was really, really nice to see. They're auctioning that off, actually, and the proceeds to that are going to go to a charity based out of Brody's hometown.
Rochester?
So that's super cool. Rochester, New York, yeah. I'm trying to think of... one thing that I kind of dug was, so Sami Zayn coming out at number 3, because even though he couldn't get number 1 or 2, like he got the other worst number, but he was so mad about it, ignoring the fact that that's the number that just won a Royal Rumble match like 30 minutes before. So Zayn's out there. Orton and Edge brawling. Orton gets hurt, so they take him to the thing. That was... they saved it. I'll get back to that in a second, because the main thing that I want to talk about with the men's Rumble is Carlito. He was supposed to come back for Legends Night, apparently, but there was a travel issue that prevented him from being there. So they brought him in for the Rumble, and holy crap, he looked like he was an action figure designed by himself.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like he was a former member of the 3-man band coming back for his world title run, because holy crap, Carlito is jacked, and you love to see it.
And we knew that was good. Like, we knew that was the case because he was in phenomenal shape whenever he faced Barbed Wire a year ago, and it was one of those being like, why is WWE not knocked on his door? Like, because he looks better now than he did before when he got released, or his contract lapsed, or whatever happened. That being said, really hope that we get that Elite soon.
So he's apparently on a short-term contract with WWE right now, like kind of just like a little bit of a trial run to see if they bring him back full-time. And I read a thing that said MVP was apparently one of the guys really pushing to get him back. So that's super cool.
Yeah, because when Carlito cares, it's the Nakamura thing. When Carlito cares, boy howdy, he's amazing.
Yeah, which that was the thing that kind of plagued his initial run. And they did that thing where they had Ric Flair legit like tear into him, and he wasn't expecting it, like on an episode of Raw.
Yeah.
Before they released him. But one of my favorite takes was he absorbed both Primo and Epico to become the ultimate cologne. And it's just like, yes. Let me see. Kane made history because he came out at number 18, and that's his 18th appearance as a Royal Rumble. We also got Hurricane Helms returned briefly, tried to do the double chokeslam spot, which I called, immediately just launched out of the ring.
That was my favorite thing, because I put gasp whenever Hurricane came out, because I love Shane Helms. Yeah. So I put in your Twitch stream, gasp, followed by go ahead.
The next person to come out after Hurricane was Christian. Holy crap, that legit like almost teared up when him and Edge embraced. Because it wasn't just it was just a couple months ago that he was doing the Orton was killing everybody thing, and he got the last match, but it was but he was under no contact because of his concussion issues.
Yeah. So
they did the punt, but the lights went out, so you couldn't actually see anything. You just like heard them moving around in the ring. But then Christian comes out. He actually like competes. He wrestles. He takes bumps. It was so good to see. It made me so happy to see that. And then Seth Rollins made his return as well. Still doing the Messiah gimmick, which I'm happy to see because to me that is the most interesting that Seth Rollins has been in a very long time.
Fair enough, yeah.
Just hopefully he can turn that into. I'm trying to think what to say. It felt like it lost when he lost Authors of Pain. I couldn't think of their name. When he lost Authors of Pain and then just went into the endless feud with Rey Mysterio, that was a bummer. So I'm excited to see what a little bit of a reboot starting fresh can do.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Mysterio, how awful was that beer ad?
Oh man, dude, you blink and you missed it. I loved it.
He's got the logo on his mask. Commentary's reading a commercial for it, and it was just so awkward.
No,
they were trying to move way too fast.
I was fine with it because by the time it annoyed me, it was over. So that was a bad date in 30 seconds or less. It was great. I loved it. It was like Victoria beer or something like that.
Yeah, I don't dig that.
And don't worry,
Michaela. I thought that sucked.
Michaela and Caleb. I'm gonna once we get kind of through our review, I'm gonna go through with what y'all said too. So don't worry. Okay. Because our chat's kind of getting there, so I'm gonna go through all of it.
That's fine. But ultimately, they played us because Rollins, or because it's the last four is Edge, Rollins, Christian, and Strowman.
Yes.
They all work together to eliminate Strowman. Christian and Strowman are eliminated simultaneously. Edge eliminates Rollins, thinks he won. Orton's back out there. And it was the thing that we all predicted of, Orton's going to win. He's going to come back and eliminate Edge.
It's the thing they do every year.
But they turned it around on us because Edge eliminated Orton. It was a really good finish. I hated that was a little bit... it was a little telegraphed, but they at least did it in a different enough way that ultimately I liked it.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Are you happy with Edge winning?
Yeah. I would have preferred to see Big E. Like once we got that promo and I really let myself believe it might be Big E.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for that. I kind of got my hopes up. Even though I predicted Sheamus, I'm glad Sheamus didn't win because again, they can get to that story with Drew, obviously, that they did on Monday, without him winning the Rumble for it. So that's fine. I'm excited to see who Edge picks because I really don't think it's as clear cut as just being Drew. Even though he's on NXT tonight, I don't think there's a chance in hell it's Edge versus Balor, or whoever the NXT champion is by the time WrestleMania is there. I do think it will be Edge and Drew McIntyre, but I could also see him going after Reigns this year.
Yeah,
I don't think that's out of the question. So I like that there wasn't a clear cut. Obviously, it's going to be this person winning this year, and I also like the fact that it's kind of up in the air of which championship he challenges for. I will say too, just one thing, just because I've seen a lot of hate for it, and I wasn't a fan of it when it happened, but I also understand why it happened. The Bad Bunny concert, I didn't care. It's weird to do. You can make the argument for a concert at a wrestling show whenever there's a crowd, but when there's no crowd, it makes a lot less sense. But I've never heard it. I'd seen the name and I knew that there was a song called Booker T, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That's all I really knew about Bad Bunny. But when you look at the exposure that he's bringing to WWE, I had these numbers written down. Let me get it pulled up on my Google Doc here.
Are you pulling up his socials?
No. So on WWE's YouTube, that concert has 3 million views. It's the highest number of views on YouTube coming out of the Royal Rumble.
Damn.
In second place is the recap of what happened at the Royal Rumble, and it's at 2.1 million. So he's got more than 1 million views just by himself, just for the performance. And then where he dove onto Miz and Morrison, because that was a cool thing. It seems like they're making Damian Priest a big deal here. Yeah. Because they're introducing him as Bad Bunny's friend. But 1.5 million views of the dive. Because Miz they offered to be, to partner up. He turned him down. Miz destroyed all of his DJ stuff. And then Bad Bunny comes out to confront them. Damian Priest eliminates them both at the same time. And then he does a pretty good dive. Did a better dive than Snoop Dogg did.
Also,
on AEW.
good on him for not dying. Because his foot slipped.
Because they had Miz. They had Miz catch someone.
If Miz has to catch somebody that's worth a couple $1 million, Miz will catch him. Also, Bad Bunny, I think, weighs the grand total of 102 pounds. Mm-hmm. So, that catch was going to happen. And Morrison caught him, let's be real.
Yeah, Morrison was there too.
But he slipped, too. He slipped on the rope.
Yeah, but he still, got there.
Yeah.
His foot that was on the turnbuckle, he was able to push off of, so that was good. And then the segment from Monday Night Raw is at 1.1 million views. And I don't think it's the highest thing from Raw. I think there was another segment, I think it was the Edge Orton match, was higher. But still, that's 1.1 million views on the WWE YouTube channel. His actual Instagram post is at 11.5 million views. Of him doing the dive.
That's K-pop
that
numbers.
He posted. So you can argue and it's fine that it's out of I don't care. I wasn't a huge fan of the song. This isn't going to make me go out of my way to look more into his music, but I at least acknowledge the fact that it's not for me. They're not after me as a demographic. And it also recognized that they are bringing in literally millions of people who may not have seen anything WWE related this week or wrestling related this week. So overall, it's a net positive. It does seem like the WrestleMania match that we're going to end up getting is Damian Priest and Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison. I liked your idea a lot better initially of Harlem Heat because the song is Booker T. Booker had that little confrontation with the Miz backstage. So even if it's Bad Bunny, even if Bad Bunny's not in the ring, it could be Damian Priest and Booker T teaming up, and Bad Bunny's their manager.
Yeah, but Stevie Ray. I love Harlem Heat. It's a thing.
So, Harlem Heat was amazing. So, but at the same time, I like that the focus would be on Damian Priest, who is older, just age-wise, he's older than I remember thinking he would be. We're expecting
he's 38, yeah.
But he's a fresher face. He's a newer name.
Yeah.
For WWE programming. So that's cool. But I've seen a not a small amount of who even is this dude? And it's I also didn't know who he is, but I'm an out of touch old man.
Same.
I get to ask. You shut up. But overall, just we haven't really done this before, and we may not keep doing it, but just give it a letter grade. The whole Royal Rumble event.
A.
Same.
A solid, and not a 94, that's a solid 98, 97.
I'd give it a 95.
Yeah.
Because the stuff, there wasn't, it was a great show overall. There were just those little bits, there was those little hiccups that really kept it from being perfect. Mm-hmm. The handcuff spot, Lawler's commentary. I wasn't a huge fan of the 24/7 stuff getting interjected into the Royal Rumble, the women's Royal Rumble. It should have been the
men's Royal Rumble match.
But Alicia Fox's involvement, because it was good to see Alicia Fox again, but her involvement kind of salvaged it, and it really didn't overstay its welcome like it could have. Yeah. But yeah, overall I thought it was a really good show. But
let me hit some message
because I haven't been in the chat.
I'm gonna rapid fire some of this. Caleb Carter brought up Damian Priest. Super important to note that show that I referenced earlier that had the amazing Hangman Kota Ibushi match also had Punishment Martinez, who was Damian Priest in Ring of Honor, versus Ishii. And we thought humans died. I
remember we were I remember how impressed we were with that match, and Jason specifically was I knew he was good, but I didn't realize he was that good. I need to look into booking him for CCW.
I know, right? It's such a bummer.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah, that got said after that match. So Punishment Martinez was awesome. Caleb, I also cried. I also almost cried when Christian came out. I may have cried. I'm not sure. It's a lot of it kind of agreeing. The only difference is Michaela and Caleb are giving it the B rating, which I understand. Mm-hmm. Not it. That's fair. It wasn't an F. I was very impressed with this Royal Rumble. I was very entertained. I hadn't watched WWE programming in a while, so I knew the bare bones of everything going in. And with what they got, gave me, I am willing to get back into the product now. And not just because Edge won, but, they gave me enough on the bone that I was like, all right, cool, I can kind of, dip my toe back in a little bit.
And this really should be the time to bring in as many people, either lapsed fans or new fans as possible, because it's the road to WrestleMania. This is what kicks off the most important time of year for WWE.
Yeah.
So there's more to be seen. We don't know who Edge is challenging officially. We don't know who Bianca Belair is challenging officially. So it's an interesting time, interesting to see where things go, and I'm looking forward to it. Wrestling's cool. I'm excited to read what happened on NXT and AEW tonight. So, and for the first time in a while, we're going to finish recording before those shows actually end. So, but that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you everybody watching live. Caleb, Michaela.
We know we had Noah and Jonathan
in here earlier. Jonathan was out there earlier. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're listening to this as a podcast, of course, you can join us each week going forward. We're going to keep this up. Facebook.com/Podzilla1985.com. No, that's not it. Facebook.com/Podzilla1985.
Yeah.
You can go to Podzilla1985.com, listen to previous episodes, the audio versions. But if you'll give us a like on the Facebook and tune in to when we go live, you can catch us recording these live. And you can miss me just completely pooping the bed on the intro.
Or you'll see
a
cat.
You're not going to hear that on the podcast. Yeah, you'll get to see a kitty.
Yeah.
Usually. There's a kitty. So, everybody have a great night. We appreciate the heck out of you. And we are going to stop recording now. Bye.